All right. There are many, many items that get prorated. Taxes, homeowners insurance, rent if it's an investment property. Some older farmhouses, you may prorate the heating oil that's in the tank. So there are a bunch of things that can get prorated. You need to figure out how to split, which is that's the proration's fancy word for split. How do you split that between the buyers and sellers? Well, it's based on several things you need to know before you can do that. When you split or prorate items, they either have to get paid in one of two ways. You can pay it at the beginning of the usage, which we call prepaid. Like, you guys ever heard of prepaid cellular? You pay and then you use the minutes. That's what prepaid means. You pay at the front. The other way it could get paid is it's paid at the end of the usage, and that is called accrued. Accrued means to add up or build up. A lot of utilities are like that because you pay based on what you used. So at the end, you measure how much you used and you pay whatever you used. That's the accrued method. So before you split this item, you need to know, is it a prepaid item or is it an accrued item? Because it prorates differently. Okay? On the exam, you are not going to be asked to know, is this bill a prepaid? No. It doesn't matter what the bill is. They're going to say, using a prepaid bill, doesn't matter. They're not going to say, using a HOA, and you have to know, well, is that prepaid? No. They'll just say, using an accrued bill of this, doesn't matter what type it is, it's accrued, which means it's paid at the end. Okay? So let's have a little math fun. Here is a little thing that I've kind of adopted over the years. It's my little accounting stick man kind of looking thing. So first of all, let's talk about this. In this example, it says it's a prepaid bill. Of how much? $210. And we close on the 12th. We close on the 12th of the month. Now, the other thing you're going to need to know when you prorate, there are two ways to, when you figure out a ratio or a proration, you can use a calendar year. How many days in a calendar year? We'll go with 365 and leave it at that. 365, 23 hours and 54 minutes, and that's where you get that leap year. It doesn't matter. They also have this thing called a business year, which is 360 days. Each month has 30 days. What's 12 times 30? 360. It's done to make the math much simpler in your head. All right? That way you're not trying to figure out how many days you're into the year based on 365. You could do 360 in the math, and you get really close. Now, I will tell you, in the real world, they use 365 because now they use computers to do all this, and it doesn't really matter. On the exam, you guys can cheat a little bit by using 360 because the math's quicker, and just realize I'm going to be a couple pennies off of what that answer may be. And we're going to do a couple examples here so I can show you. All right? So let's go through what's on the board here. Here's my little stick man. Close on the 12th. One side is the sellers, one side's the buyers. Now, we're going to use a 30-day month or a business year. February has 30 days on a business year. – That'll freak you out too when you're looking at that because they're all equal. So what you have is this right here. So let me ask you a question. It's a prepaid bill. Who paid the bill? I have one very emphatic seller, and the rest of you sit there. On a prepaid bill, when does the bill get paid? On this particular item, it's a month, since I said it was 30 days. So I got paid on the 1st. Who paid it? Would have been the seller. How much did he pay? He paid all of the $210 because it was due. But he only used 12 days of it because we closed on the 12th. So what happens in this scenario? So first of all, I made it real easy for us on the math. This bill, mathematically, is $210 divided by 30 days is $7 a day. How many days does he get a credit for? How much did he use? 12 days. Seller owns the day of closing. I told you that. The seller owns the house the day of closing. Closed on the 12th. He paid for 30. He used 12. So he gets a credit back of 18 of those days. Right? So $7 a day times 18 is $126. That is a credit to the seller. Where does that money come from? So what happens on the buyer side? Of how much? 126 is what 18 times 7. Are you sure that's the right answer for the buyer side, though?
No, because he gets the day closing, right?
No, it's the day after, so it's 17 times
17
7.
times 7?
Is that right?
No.
I don't know.
Okay, let's go back to the dumb thing I said earlier, and I told you, I'll say it to you. There are only two people in this closing. If the seller gets a credit for $126, where does it come from? The buyer. I ain't paying it, you ain't paying it, the title company ain't paying it. So how much does the buyer have to pay? 126. A lot of people have to go 84 because they think all of a sudden it's got to add up. No, the credit that the seller's getting back has got to come from the other side of the table. And if you think about it, the buyer is actually using it the last 18 days, so he's got to pay for it. So the buyer side gets a debit of 126. Do what? It's not like accounting, because accounting, they want to add up to make that bill whole, and that's what a lot of people do. And I heard somebody say $84. That's what it throws accountants off. But it is truly an accounting system, because it's a cash accounting system. If cash goes to one side, it's got to come from the other place. Now, if I could wave my magic wand in this closing, this is my mythical $100,000 house I've been using. The seller would walk away from this closing table with $100,126 in his pocket. Everybody understand that? Because he got $100,000 for the sale, and he gets some money back for a bill that he paid. Cool? think that said 1-800-CRYBABY, I'm not sure. So what I want to do now, let's do another one real quick. Let me draw my little, and if you guys do this, it'll help you, I think. We're going to close on the 19th this time. There's the seller, there's the buyer. It's an accrued bill. It's $300, and we close on the 19th. All right, for you at home can see it right there on the screen. So go ahead and tell me real quick, who gets debits, who gets credits, how much, where we're going. We heard seller gets the credit, buyer gets the debit. Good, because that was not the right answer. She has now changed her mind and went the other way. But how much? I hear a lot of plus tax. Do what? Seller's a debit. Do we agree that much? But how much? Don't listen to the title chick. She may not know anything. Oh, you want your own method? Well, she is correct. When does this bill get paid? The end of the month. It's accrued. Right? Who pays it? The buyer, or at this particular point, we'd probably call him the current owner, but he's the buyer in this scenario. How much does he write the check for? $300. Because they say, hey, the $300 bill's due. We don't care who lived there. You owe us that $300. He's going to say, that's copacetic. I will pay you the $300. How long did he use it? 11 days. The seller used it how many days? 19 days, but never paid for it. So he's got to pony up at closing. And that pony up is going to come in the form of him adding money to the price. Right? So it's $10 a day, $300 over 30 days is $10 a day. The seller had it 19 days times $10 a day. The seller owes $190. And that $190 is going to be a debit, which means the buyer is getting a credit for $190. And then what's going to happen is this. The buyer's going to take that $190 and add the money from his pocket, which was how much? 11 days, 110, to that $190, and voila, what do you have? $300. It's very much like saying, John, let's go to the movies. I'll buy the tickets. You give me your $10. I'll add it to my $10, and I'll buy the tickets for $20. That's what's happened. The buyer has said, Mr. Seller, give me the $190 that you owed. Give it to me. I'll add my $110 to it at the end of the month and pay the $300 bill. Here's the cool thing to remember. Look at this. Accrued, buyer, credit, ABC. It will always, always work out that way. Buyer will always get a credit in the accrued system. So now, hint, 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 I can actually ask you what kind of bill it was based on who got the credit. Because if you look at the prepaid, seller gets the credit. The other way to remember that or think about it, whoever writes the check will get a credit at the closing. In prepaid, seller wrote it, he gets credit. In an accrued, the buyer writes the check, so at closing he gets the credit. Alex?
I'm a little slow. Where did that 10 come from?
10? The bill is $300 and it's 30 days. So the 10 comes from $10 a day times 19 days is $190. So I took the bill's value of 300 and I made it real simple. I'm telling you now, the test's not going to be that simple. They're going to do something like it's $224, and then you would have to divide it by 30 to get $12.87 a day times 10 days. I made it real simple on you, but be prepared for the test not to be that easy. Yeah, it does on all the others, I think. No, I didn't. Yeah, it's an accrued right here. There. That's what happens when you copy and paste. So if you're at home and watching the slides, see, notice right here it says accrued, but I forgot to change these. But the second half with the $300 is accrued. Damn it. Missed that. Thank God I got my license. So just keep that at home if you're looking. It says accrued bill. There it says prepaid. It should be accrued. There it says prepaid. Should be accrued. There it says prepaid. Should be accrued. All right? Thanks, Josh. All right, let's stop the audio file real quick.